Hello folks, welcome. I am going to be making the, sorry about that, I don't know if you heard that noise, experimental rugelach dough today. It'll have 2 sticks of butter, 1 block of cream cheese, and I'm gonna chop a Hershey's bar to go into 1/2 of the dough, and I'm going to be sprinkling some flavored sprinkles into the other half of the dough, and I'm going to prepare the dough for 2 different flavors of rugelach. So the one with the flavored sprinkles will have the walnut filling in it, and then the one with the Hershey's bar chopped into it will have the chocolate cherry filling that we made on the last live. And I'm just gonna be chatting, ranting, eating my lunch and snacks as we go. And that'll be what I'm gonna be doing in the kitchen today. It is pretty hot, so I think the dough will suffer a little bit, but unfortunately the temperatures aren't really gonna cool down much until Saturday, which is when I need the cookies by. So let's get it done. Okay, I am going to pull up chat so I can keep an eye on what y'all are saying while I do my thing. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good midnight. I don't know what time everyone is joining in at, but it is currently 1:08 p.m. in New York City. What I'm going to be doing is wiping down that surface, and I'm going to be rolling the dough out on that surface if we even get to that stage today, because first I need to make the dough and chill the dough. Because basically, I don't want all of the butter and cream cheese to fully saturate the flour mixture. I want there to be sort of still chunkiness in it, sort of like when you make pie dough and you don't want the butter to be completely melted into the flour. You want there to be certain layering happen, so you do still want pockets of that fat kind of preserved in those layers. So to that, I will be using a big mixing bowl. That way there's lots of space for me to aerate stuff into. But I still will give this a wipe down with white vinegar, which is my preferred cleaning solution for a work surface that is going to make direct contact with food. Not really crazy about scented cleaners on food surfaces. I do think this surface actually feels cooler than my stainless steel top. So that's good to know in the summer when you're working with temperature sensitive stuff. I forgot to take my vitamins yesterday, so I'm going to do a vitamin call for everyone to join me in your daily pills, supplements, whatever medications. Don't forget to take it. Okay, I'm going to read out the ingredients for my rugelach dough, and I'll keep the screen on. 2 cups all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'll be using my orange salt here. 2 sticks of butter, cold and cubed. 8 ounces of cream cheese, cold and cubed. I might pull out a couple of cubes just for Memo because he really likes cream cheese. Then I'll go in with either yogurt or water if I still feel the dough is dry, but I don't think that's going to be the case because one, it's so warm today. Two, it's really humid today, so I think the flour will absorb humidity from the air as well. This is something that I didn't know when I first started working in restaurants, but I got to know very quickly that when you make bread dough, the humidity in the atmosphere changes the texture and consistency of the dough pretty drastically sometimes. So that's something to pay attention to when you're working with pie dough, bread doughs, like the weather conditions that you're working in, especially if you're not in an AC humidity controlled space when you cook. It will all kind of factor into the food. Oh my god, I spilled tea all over myself. Okay. That did cool me down though. Okay, the good thing is I froze my butter, I cubed my cream cheese already, so those are ready to go, and my flour is also in the freezer, so everything's cold. Here's my butter. Here's my cream cheese. My flour. Oh, and my laptop just died. That's not good, because I do need those instructions. But if I remember correctly, oh my goodness, all my technology is dying. If I remember correctly, it was 2 cups flour, yes, with half a teaspoon of salt. I just unfortunately will not be able to see your chats, I guess. Oh, it's back. It's back. So I usually just weigh out my flour. 2 cups flour is about 260 grams. So that was about 1 cup of flour. And that's 2. Okay. We're gonna do half a teaspoon of the orange salt. Both my butter and cream cheese have salt in them, which is why I'm not going too heavy with the salt. And my butter has been pre-cubed, as you see. It is very, very frozen right now, which is great. cream cheese. I did not freeze the cream cheese. I've never frozen cream cheese, so I don't know what effect that would have had on the cream cheese. And this is unfortunately lower fat cream cheese because I originally bought it for Memo, but now we're gonna use it for my friend's birthday thing. So I'm first going to toss the butter into the flour. This is a method that I learned from my pastry chef Diana, who taught me basically everything I know about pastry in restaurants. And I'm just going to get the butter kind of coated in the flour and broken up into their cubes so that they don't start melting right away. The flour kind of encases it to preserve the melt rate, I guess. And because the butter is quite frozen right now, it's going to be very hard for me to start smushing it. So I'm just breaking them up to make them easier to smush as they warm up. And then once the butter is all broken up and coated, I'm going to do the same to the cream cheese, which is way softer and gooier. Oops. A lot of rugelach recipes that I referenced online uses a food processor because obviously a food processor will do this process way faster and more efficiently. I don't have a food processor, which is why I'm doing it manually. And you know, I don't think from the beginnings of rugelach making there were food processors, so. You can see why I wanted the weather to be a little bit colder before I embarked on this project, but so far, so good. One thing that's really helped me enjoy the process of cooking and the prospect of cooking is to be tuned into all the lessons that I could learn every time I cook, rather than being kind of possessed by the end result. So detachment from performance and excitement and curiosity about the process of things unfolding. Okay, things are pretty chunked right now, and I'm going to start trying to smush the butter, which is still quite hard. But basically, after I work the fat into the dough, I'm going to put it into the fridge while I chunk up the chocolate. And then I'm going to take a break for food. But this is actually perfect to have butter quite solid like this because I can already feel it melting faster than on any other day I've attempted to make such kinds of desserts. So I would rather it melt slower than faster. Also gives me a chance to kind of practice a less frantic pacing internally. How's everyone doing? We have a way thinner crowd today than the last live, I suspect because this is in the middle of the day. And the last time I went live, it was like 5 p.m. and I guess more people are home. But thanks for joining me in my cooking adventures. Yeah, do you live in the Midwest? Crazy storms and tornadoes sound like the Midwest to me. Hope you're staying safe. I have a friend who lives in Kentucky, and she said her neighbor's tree fell down in the middle of her storm last night, and the rescue response was very speedy, even while there was still huge downpours happening. Lots of people doing important work in this world, and lots of people doing very unimportant work in this world, and making everyone else pay for it. That's the rub of being a human being. That's so funny. Outside of Chicago, for some reason in my brain, because one, I suck at geography and like still don't know the map of the world or of the US really, or of any country. I still think of Chicago as like very much of the north. Like I feel like so many people talk about Chicago like a metropolitan city. Whenever people talk about Chicago and Detroit, I never think of it as the Midwest. I always think of it as like just the north and even northeast, but clearly that is wrong. Hi from the crime lab. Are you creating the crime? In case you haven't ever smushed butter into flour, it's a very satisfying process if you're not in a rush. Just feeling the textures of the fat change under the pressures of your fingertips. And then slowly you start observing the flour taking on the fat content, and it becomes more and more like damp sand. I love working with dough in so many different formats because I just love feeling it change and being able to like be part of that change. It's one of the most fascinating ingredients I feel like in food. Obviously everything in food undergoes transformation and change. That's how you cook things, but dough is just so tactile. Tahini Cristini, that's a great name. Oh my gosh, that's a viral recipe waiting to happen with a name like that. 2 slices of sourdough challah, homemade, topped with tahini, chopped green olives, and a drizzle of olive oil with some cheddar slices. That sounds delicious. I always pair tahini with like sweet stuff. My favorite snack in high school for a year was just white bread with Chinese tahini and a layer of white sugar. And that was it. It tasted like mocha to me somehow. It had that like coffee texture or coffee flavor. And it had a crunchy sugar topping texture that I loved biting through with that fluffy, airy bread. Yeah, I know. I'm not looking forward to baking. The next 3 days are more or less the same temperature as today, and I'm just trying to think, like, when is the best time of day to bake? Early morning would fuck up my entire apartment temperature for the rest of the day. Late night, maybe, could be best. I'm meeting my friend on Saturday to celebrate her birthday, so maybe I'll bake this on Friday night. Maybe I'll make the dough today, assemble it tomorrow, freeze it, and then bake it on Friday. 3-day process, 4-day process if you count the last slide. Okay, the butter is getting to that stage of being like optimally squishable. It's almost the same texture as the cream cheese now, which is wild. And because the cream cheese has so much gelling agent in it, it's not really melting, it's just softening. But this is when I have to pick up the pace a little bit. Really kind of be mindful of the speed at which the butter is defrosting now. I'm feeling through and picking out the squarish butter that hasn't gotten smushed yet. And then once all the squarish pieces have gotten smushed, that's when I'm going to like kind of go in with a more general mass squish to really kind of cut in the fat into the dry bits of the flour. We're getting there very soon. Maybe you're already doing it. The resistance of the butter is basically like a tenth of what it was just 5 minutes ago, whenever we started cutting the butter up with our fingers. Oh, I said I was going to reserve some cream cheese for Memo and I forgot. I'm sorry, baby. Apologies to my cat. He's already angry at me today. I didn't give him his wet puree, and he refused the dry kibble, so he threw up. But hopefully he'll come out later and we'll get him some food in his belly. Just the fingertips. I'm not like doing this with my whole palm. The palm is not involved. This is something that my pastry chef Diana had to demonstrate. You're getting the flour and the butter, and you're doing this rolling, pinching motion of sliding your thumb across your index finger. Sometimes I'll involve all the fingers like this, but you're basically trying to shred and thin out the butter so that it's becoming flakes, like thin flakes. But you don't want it to like get so thin flaky that it's completely wetting into the flour. You don't want like a totally cohesive dough, at least for pie. Like this is a technique for making a pie crust. I understand for rugelach we're gonna want to make like a dough, but I'm still using this pie making technique right now because usually with pie dough, you don't have that block of cream cheese. You just have 2 cups of flour and two sticks of butter. Now the cream cheese is basically going to act as the, quarter cup of water sometimes that you add to pie dough. So I think as we work, it will become a cohesive dough. But I'm just still trying to like cut in the butter so that it doesn't immediately just deaden the flour into a solid block. If that makes sense. I'm trying to create some layering so that when we bake the rugelach, it's going to have that kind of pie crusty airiness. Yeah, pinch and roll. The palms are just kind of holding the inventory of things for me to do this to, but the palms are not active in the act of smushing. The palms are just kind of like a holding vessel for me. It's really just the thumb and the index and sometimes the middle finger doing the work. The rest of the fingers are not really involved, but you can start from the pinky like this. But because the surface area is the biggest on these like fatter fingers, that's what I use. Okay, now the dough is like pretty much saturated and I can still see big lumps of butter and cream cheese. And guys, I've never made rugelach before, and that's my confession. So, this is just me figuring things out without a food processor as I go. Now I'm going in and I'm kind of clawing it together so that I'm mashing up the smaller, looser, drier bits of flour into the bigger clumps of more fatty flour, and I'm feeling the dough become bigger clumps as the dry bits get swallowed up by the wet bits, and I'm feeling the dough getting wetter and wetter and wetter. And that's really kind of what you experience when you put some water into the pie dough. It's coming together because this is already wet enough with just that cream cheese. And as you can see, it's turning more and more. If I do this, it's holding shape. Like this is basically the dough now. And now I can use my palm to kind of pat it into a dough. And you'll see there's like still drier bits and wetter bits and bigger bits. And this is kind of like the ideal pie dough texture. So I'm actually going to stop here and put this in the fridge for now, and I'm going to wash my hands, and I'm going to chop up the Hershey's chocolate bar so that we can put it into 1/2 of this dough. So that's 2 doughs that we're going to be making. I don't recommend doing this if you are worried about food poisoning, but I am going to be tasting the dough right now. Tastes good. It's not seasoned much at all, which is great because I think the fillings are going to be quite sweet. Okay, I put it in the freezer because my fridge doesn't have enough space. So, oops. Why do I have a Hershey's bar, you ask? I did not buy it. Let that be clear. I went to the Museum of Moving Image on August 8th, which they termed Infinity Day, and they gave everyone in the audience who came to the talk about parallel universes a Hershey's bar, because apparently you can cut the Hershey's bar in such a way that it gives you an extra piece. I didn't do that because my bar melted before I ever got home, and I also wasn't really interested in doing that anyway. But I refuse to waste this chocolate. But it's been years since I've had a Hershey's chocolate. And because it was melted, I was like, oh, this will be perfect for baking with. So that's what we're doing right now. Hershey's chocolate has always tasted disgusting to me. It's always tasted like just wax, basically. And I think it probably is, for the most part, just wax. But the cat is out. So I kind of want to sandwich the chocolate into the dough so that it's visible, but I don't want it to like burn when I bake the rugelach, so I don't really want to work it totally into the dough. So I might do this thing where I slice the dough in half and try to sandwich the chocolate chip into the middle of the dough, and then when I roll the dough out, maybe some of it will peek out, but hopefully not most of it. And I am chopping it pretty fine so that it can get worked into the dough without like huge chunks in every bite. I think that is good. I'm gonna give myself 3 more chops. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's not technically 3, but that's it. Any more and we will powderize it. Okay. Hi. Okay. Half the dough. Sorry, I spotted a big piece. This is half the dough. So I'm going to round it, slice it, smash it out a little bit. trying to work very fast here. My heart is like pumping because I usually don't like working so fast. My nervous system can't handle stress. Makes me wonder sometimes if I'll just have like a heart condition, not from any family history of heart conditions, but just from a family history of stress. I feel like that is likely. Okay. Smush that out. Memo is like very fascinated by chocolate. I baked a brownie. Did I tell you guys this? I can't remember. I told someone about this. Baked a brownie and he wouldn't leave me alone. Pretty sure cats cannot have chocolate the same way dogs cannot have chocolate. So tough luck, bud. And then I'm just going to bring the dough up. Oh yeah, it's melting fast. It's melting super fast. And I should have gotten a plastic wrap ready for this, but I did not. Hello. Instead of plastic wrap, I will be using these produce bags that held nuts. Since I will be baking nuts anyway, I will be alerting everyone that this is not a nut-free product. And then this way, I can reuse the produce bags as trash bags and just not use plastic. What I like to do is sort of press out the air and then use a rolling pin to flatten it, which will make it easier to roll out even thinner when the time comes for assembly. Yeah, a lot of those big chocolate companies are now paying big bucks to tech food companies to basically find alternatives or to breed different species basically that are more climate change resilient, because a lot of the crops that we like, including peanuts and cacao, are at risk of not surviving our changing climate patterns. So, okay, this is our chocolate dough. Put it in here and put it in the fridge. Then for our other dough, I have the other bag ready. And I'm just going to, where's my sprinkles? Here's my sprinkles. Cardamom, cinnamon, ginger sprinkles. I think this will go well with the walnut filling. You know, bad chocolate needs to be super sweet so that they hide the flavor of how bad their chocolate is, basically. And the Hershey's cocoa powder, straight up, just smells weird and tastes like dry vomit to me. It's really gross. I don't ever buy the Hershey's regular cocoa. If I have to, I'll buy their dark cocoa. I think their dark chocolate tastes more acceptable to me too. Okay, so I've created 2 sandwiches basically of sprinkle dough, and I'll just stack them together. It's either a lot of hand washing during the process or a lot of surface cleaning after the process. Take your pick. I like to clean the hands. I like to get the mess at the source as early as possible so that we limit the spread of contagion. So you can see the specks of sprinkles peeking through. I like to go around and smush in the cracks a little bit so that, you know, when you roll it out bigger, the cracks don't split off as much. Sort of the same principle as containing the contagion faster. Limit the cracks in the beginning and the split will be a little less disturbing as you roll it out later. Okay. Hi, opening. He's just chilling there. And that's it. I'm gonna clean up the board. I'm going to lick this wrapper so I can remind myself what Hershey's chocolate tastes like. Yeah, it's not terrible, you know, it's just chocolate. Tastes like candy, but it really has no trace beyond just fat for the most part. Hi, I didn't save any cream cheese for you, baby, but I can try to scrape some off the wrapper. Would you like to lick off of my finger? I'm really sorry. I really did mean to save you some, but I forgot. Big yawn. He loves cream cheese. You love cream cheese. Yeah? So I think that if you have the time for it, doing rugelach dough by hand is not any slower, especially if you enjoy the hands-on process of it. Because imagine the time that you need to clean the food processor after. You know, like all the parts that you have to take apart and get the dough out of, all the nooks and crannies. Whereas with a hand, you just wash it in a few seconds. You dropped some. There it is. Your cream cheese breakfast. Are you interested in licking the butter wrappers? You want some butter? He said, no. Butter wrappers are beyond me, peasant. Okay, I'm gonna go throw this out in the trash, BRB. And now I have to wash my hands and my tools. Death, taxes, and dishes. Guarantees of life. Okay, what do you guys think about flowers? Do you like flowers? I feel like I have a mainly predominant female audience. And in the past month, I've had 2 separate conversations with 2 female friends who both told me how much they like flowers, as in receiving flowers and just the sort of gifting of flowers. I have never liked flowers, but it's so curious because when I thought about, why is it that so many people, women, like getting flowers and I don't? My first thought to myself was, maybe I'm just more of a man. And isn't it weird how I think growing up in society, we've trained ourselves to think in binaries of like, well, if I don't like A, then that means that I must be X, Y, and Z. Whereas maybe I just don't like flowers. I just don't like being given flowers. I did tell the first friend, like, if you have to give me flowers, I would much rather you give me a plant, like a live plant, that I could care for and that I could hopefully help grow and keep alive. There's something about gifting me a flower that's already been snipped from its life source that is just so depressing to me, and it feels like an empty gesture, even though I know the intention is very much one of love and appreciation. It creates so much cognitive dissonance for me because I almost feel like there is no love and appreciation for the plant you're giving me to express your love and appreciation, and therein lies the conflict of meaning, this action that kind of contradicts itself. Or maybe I just think too much. I have been told I do. Okay, so I think I'm gonna let the dough chill. And I don't think I'm gonna assemble the rugelach anymore today. So if you only came to see me do rugelach, this is where the live stream content of desires end for you. What I will do next after I finish rinsing off this bowl is I'm gonna taste the fillings I made yesterday, just to see how they set up as a way to gauge how they'll bake. Check in on the flavors, and then I'm probably going to make myself some lunch, and then I'll hop off and live my life. Not to say I'm not already living my life, I am. This is my life. But my life outside of the visibility of an invisible audience. Let me actually go check on Memo first. I want to see if he wants food. And then I'll be back. Doop. Kitty, want some food? Want food? He indeed did want some food. This is our flavor today, tuna tastefuls puree. Okay, so the first one I think is fairly safe to assume is good. This is our walnut paste crumble. It crumbles pretty easily, so I think it'll be very nice to break up tomorrow. And I'm just going to take a little taste. Oh yeah, I love it. Not too sweet. You can taste the walnuts. The spices come through well. They've married together in the fridge overnight. Love that flavor. There's almost like a little bitterness from the walnuts too. Okay, this is our cherry jam, made from Luxardo maraschino cherries and blitzed with the immersion blender. I'm checking for texture here. This looks good to me. This is a nice paste, very brushable tomorrow whenever we assemble and bake. I think it'll be good. Taste is a little salty, but might not be a bad thing. We'll see. Definitely a lot more savory than I expected. And then we have the chocolate paste that we made out of the Luxardo cherry liquid, so the syrup, with a little bit of butter and cocoa powder. Let's check this. Oh my goodness, yes, this is gonna be a very nice texture to brush. Perfect texture, actually. And then I'm just going to do a taste check. Oh yeah, dark chocolate. Nice acidity on that chocolate too. Let me eat the two of them together, just to check. Okay. A little bit of chocolate here, and a little bit of cherry here. Yeah. Ironically, it really reminds me of the flavor of like kosher baked goods, because I think despite the fact that I have butter in here, there's no like cream, like dairy cream. There's no milkiness. So it feels like the dairy-free kind of like kosher dessert. I think it'll work, but we'll see tomorrow, I guess. We shall see. Or Friday. Whenever I'm baking, we shall see. I also blended the last of my 3 straggler walnuts with some vanilla sugar, so I think this will go nice in the cherry chocolate version too, just to have a little bit of nuttiness to kind of balance it out. I'll put it in here so I don't forget about it. onto the food. Okay, yesterday I cooked my chickpeas in the Instant Pot and I steamed some parsnips alongside. And guys, I'm just warning you, this is not going to look pretty because it's fucking gross looking. But I steamed some parsnips in there and the parsnips overcooked, so I turned it into a mash. And then I added some of the ajvar tomato eggplant paste to this, some ketchup, some Kewpie mayo. And then I cracked open a can of this Jack mackerel in brine, where the ingredients are just mackerel, fish, and salt. 4 servings per container, 105 calories per serving, so there's 420 calories in this whole can. There's about 150% of my daily cholesterol in this can. Actually, the fat on this fish is pretty high, 24% total fat, 32% saturated fat for the whole container. And then there's about 75 grams of protein in here. So I ate about half the can yesterday, and I'm gonna eat probably most of this can today. I shared some with Memo too. He seemed to like it. And this is basically how I survive in the summer when I don't feel like cooking anything. I just try to double up as much heat sources to cook multiple things at once. So chickpeas and parsnips in the Instant Pot. It's the same amount of time, but you get 2 things cooked at once. Oh, hello. Do you think he wants some? Okay, well, I can give you some fish in water if you will also eat some kibbles with it. Do you promise? Do you promise you'll eat some kibbles with it? Yeah? Okay, deal. Yeah. Yeah. Mind you, he just had his treat. His freshly opened tuna treat. Yeah? He sounds like a squeak toy sometimes. Yeah. I'm going to try to add some kibble in here too. Oh my goodness, you're so protesty. Yeah, I know. Here's his second lunch. Yeah? What do you think? Is it of interest? I can't give him too much human canned fish because 1, they always have salt in there, so that's why I try not to get the liquid in there and I try to dilute it with some water. And 2, I've noticed in particular canned tuna will give him the runs. I haven't noticed it as much with other fish, but I am very wary of giving him human canned fish because he's such a sensitive boy. I just don't know what trips him off sometimes, and it's really not worth the heartache of like finding that he's pooped on the bed or something the day after. He's such a messy eater too. Yeah, get that kibble. Get that kibble. You don't want it anymore because the kibble's ruined it? What if I put more water in here for you? Will that trick you into eating it? Hmm? Gross, Memo. I'll leave it here for you. have to clean up the floor. I don't know how this floor gets so dirty so quickly. Maybe because it's white, I can see so much more. But man, this floor grosses me out. It's also a hair magnet. My goodness. Half of it is Memo's hair and half of it is my hair. Did you like your 2 lunches? Okay. Anyway, this is lunch. I might throw some greens in here. What do we got? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we have some dill. Dill's easy to chop up just with our hands. I also have shiso or perilla. I can't ever tell the difference between those two. They confuse me so much. But they are very similar plants. Anyway, lazy way, without a cutting board, just cutting it in with scissors. Do you want some dill too? Is that why you're coming? You need to finish the fish I gave you already. Yes, with the kibble inside. Are you interested in dill? Do you want to smell dill? He loves to run away. The moment he senses that, no, he does not like this thing I am presenting him with. It's not strange for you to miss the notification. Some people don't ever even get it. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. They're changing everything all the time, and I don't know if there's a way for me to notify people better. But I actually scheduled it in advance today. I scheduled it at 11 a.m. for a 1 p.m. live, so I tried. But I also think that there has been censorship and sort of shadow bannings. Who knows anymore? I'm seeing a question from a while back. Casey, June, do you just have window units? Do you mean AC? In which case, yes, I have one window unit. And if you're not referring to AC, I have no idea what you're referring to. I have one window unit of AC. It is in the living room. And that is where I slept last night with Memo because even though the temperature dropped below 80, I know I feel so guilty. But the night before last night, I tried to go the night without AC, and the humidity in New York City has been basically staying between 75 and 80% dew point, that I just can't even slip into sleep, and I just feel like I'm suffocating in my own sweat, and like I can't even like breathe in a cool way. So I just went to sleep in the living room last night with the AC on, and I think I got like 5 hours of sleep maybe. Yeah, I have heard that sardines are like a hot food now. I've been seeing so many influencers just eat sardines only. Oh, now you can't see Memo. And it's crazy to me. Now you can see Memo. Because sardines, I feel like, has this reputation of being a poor person's food. And it's always gotten the stigma. But lately, influencers have been touting, extolling the virtues of eating sardines and how great a source of protein it is for you and how healthy the fats are and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, of course, they're eating the cans that cost like $6 to $8 each. And I'm eating the cans that cost under $2 each, but sardines for the win. There was one point where, when I was still working at Barrel Up and Barrel, I developed a sardine toast recipe for the Spice Club, with the sour plum powder that you saw me make an iced tea out of. And there were, I think, at least 2 customers who wrote in saying they don't eat sardines and they're never gonna cook that recipe. It was a shocking moment for me because I don't think we've ever gotten people actively writing in about how much they would not even fathom the idea of cooking a recipe. So that's when I learned about the pretty severe stigma around eating canned sardines. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I used to be able to score sardines for $1 a can. I don't know if it has anything to do with the social media trending of sardines, but I have noticed that for the last 2+ months, even when it goes on sale, it never goes below $1.25. The baseline price has gone up for sardines. So sodium content on this mackerel here. San Jose mackerel. I bought this at my local Key Foods. There's only one Key Food that I've seen carry this, and I believe this was 2 cans for $3, which is the best canned fish deal I've found yet, because this is a 15-ounce can, 4 servings. So this is even cheaper than canned tuna when it goes on sale for like 89 cents. Sodium is 240 milligrams per serving, so for the entire can there's about 1 gram of salt, which is 40% your daily allotted intake. 1 gram of salt is like 1/8 of a teaspoon, basically. All right, there you have it. It's a really beautiful can design too. I love this can design. I love how simple, legible, and primary colored it is. Anyway, I want to see more of this kind of packaging. You know? I think I need some spicy on this. Hello. Gonna put some kebab seasoning. This is a blend from Turkey. It does have a very nice smoky skewer barbecue taste to it. There's black earth chili, silk chili, cumin, allspice, garlic, sea salt, and a little bit of oil to preserve the chilies. And I've been loving this in the summer. A little spicy, a little salty, a little smoky. And it looks quite beautiful too. One thing about spices is it'll always make your food just look a little bit more refined. I mean, that's still mush, but now it's got flavor sprinkles on it. So, cheers to mush and nice protein. What is a Sammy patty? I've heard of a patty melt before. Is that a sandwich patty, aka patty melt? It's basically like a burger, but it's square and it's in sandwich form instead of bun form. Yeah, Fishwife, very popular. They got their branding down, but from people I know who are into high quality canned fish, they say that the price point of Fishwife is not worth the quality. You can probably get much better quality canned fish for that same price elsewhere. But I personally have never tasted Fishwife, so I can't say. The price point kind of just blocks my desire out totally. Yes, salmon patty. I do like salmon patties a lot. I'm too lazy to make patties out of this. And I never have breadcrumbs on hand. So, if anything, I feel like with the flavor profile of mackerel, what I'd be most likely to make, if I made anything at all out of it, is like if I scrambled herbs, eggs, seasoning with the mackerel, and then I made basically like mackerel omelet patties. I feel like that could be an interesting take on breakfast sandwich. But I don't really have breadcrumbs ever on hand. It's just not my thing. Lemon, garlic, sardine, and olive oil in a glass jar. Glass jar fish is expensive here. The cheapest I've seen glass jar tuna be is like $9. It's not a very common phenomenon to see preserved fish basically in a glass jar. It's usually reserved for the higher tiered products. But yeah, I do like salmon patties. I just don't really make them. I've made them for work, for delish. But I'm lazy. Why make patties when I can just eat it straight out of the can? I'll also slice some tomatoes. I look at the beautiful tomatoes at the farmer's market and I salivate for them internally, but pulling the trigger on buying them is truly difficult because I can get 3 of these for $1 at my grocery store, or I could get 1 farmer's market tomato for 6 times that price. If the farmer's market tomatoes were like even $3 a pound instead of $6 to $8 a pound, I think I would go for it. But this tomato, even, let me see how much this tomato is after I've cut off 1/3 of it. Yeah, this tomato is 9.3 ounces. It's probably closer to a pound. This tomato would have cost $7 if it were from the farmer's market. So it's just a little hard for me to stomach. Maybe in 1 or 2 years I'll have it be part of my regular purchases at the farmer's market. It did take me like 3 years to be able to buy greens at the farmer's market regularly, so. You know, I bet I could also use like flour or ground up oats as a breadcrumb substitute. But again, I just don't even bother making the patties because I'm lazy. All right, y'all. I think that's it. My energy has run out very quickly today. But thank you for joining me for making the dough and hanging around to chat. I'm saying hi to Memo. What a beautiful cat. You have some fish you haven't finished. You want to eat it? Mm-hmm. You have it. It's in your bowl over there. Yeah, I don't know where my tomatoes are from. Do not know. Have a good day, y'all. Maybe see you Friday for the bake-off. Take care.